Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Timber Technology. The biggest decision, or one of the biggest decisions that you will have to make, is choosing the type of timber or wood that you're going to use for your furniture or building projects. So, today we're going to be going through some topics, 5 topics in this video. And the first one we're going to go through is moisture content in timber. Okay, so moisture content is how wet your timber is. So we're going to go through how to dry your timber and the right amount of moisture content that you need to have. Next thing we're going to be doing is defects in timber. Timber can bend, it can cup, it can split. So we're going to be going through the different defects that you don't want in your timber. The next thing we're going to be doing is deterioration of timber over time. You want to protect your wood in order for it not to deteriorate in a fast manner. Okay, so you want to protect your wood, and I'm going to show you the different ways to do that. And we're going to also be going through insect attacks in timber. You have things like termites and different types of bugs that can enter the timber, and sometimes you don't even know it. So we're going to go through that. And the last thing we're going to be going through is wood preservation. So there are various types of chemicals that you can use to preserve your timber. So these are the 5 different things that we're going to be going through. So if you're ready, grab your snacks, grab your water or drink, and notebook, pen, and let's go.
I get those goosebumps every time. I need the Heimlich, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps.
Okay, so before we start, I'm going to go through part 1, just a little recap of what we did so that we can seamlessly go into this chapter. And remember that we were speaking about seasoning of wood and the different types of seasoning. Here you have air seasoning, kiln seasoning, and you have progressive kilns. Okay, so these are the 3 types of seasonings that we went through at the end of the last video. I advise you to look at part 1 before you look at this video so you can actually understand the previous content. So today we're going to go through moisture content, and moisture content is a measure of the amount of water that is contained in timber, and it is expressed as a percentage. So if you see a type of wood or a piece of log that has a moisture content of 50%, it is not well seasoned, it is too heavy, and it cannot be used for commercial use. Okay, so you cannot use it to make furniture and so on because it's too heavy and it's too wet. Okay, a well seasoned timber has a low percentage of moisture, and that is, the lower the percentage, the drier the timber. Okay, so if you have a high percentage, it's too wet. If you have a lower percentage, it becomes drier. And when you cut down a tree, a living tree, more than half of its weight may be moisture. Okay, so you need to get out all of that moisture before it can be put to effective use. Above here, you see the equation of determining the content that is in a log or a piece of wood. So you have the initial weight, which is the weight that you have when the tree is cut down, and you take it, or you subtract it from the oven dried weight. So once you put it in the kiln or the oven, you subtract the initial weight from the oven dried weight, and you divide it by the oven dried weight times 100, and that would give you the percentage of the moisture content. Okay, so let's say you have a wood that is 50 pounds. We're just using any number, and you have the oven dried weight. You put it in the kiln, you have the oven, you got it oven dried, and it is 30 pounds. Okay, so what you will do, you'll have the initial weight, which is 50, minus 30, which leaves 20, and then you divide it by 20, multiply it by 100, and whatever you get for that, that gives you the moisture content. Okay. A piece of timber is apt to lose and gain moisture from the air around it, and that's why we have air seasoning. However, air seasoning takes a lot longer than kiln seasoning because the air and the temperature is a lot less than if you put it in an oven or a kiln. Okay, so the kiln, the machines are more faster than just naturally seasoning your timber. Okay, here you see the procedure for determining the moisture content. So what you want to do is wait, and here you have the scale right here. You want to wait before drying. You want to put the wood in a kiln or oven, and you want to wait after drying, and then you want to determine the moisture content with a meter. Okay, so this meter actually shows you the moisture content. If you don't have a calculator, there are meters that you can actually put over the wood, and it would show you the moisture content. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to pull out a calculator, but you have the equation just in case you need to know. All right, so that's it for moisture content. Very simple, very easy. It's the before weight minus the after weight divided by the after weight times 100. Okay, so very simple. All right, so we're gonna move on now to the defects in timber. And a defect in timber is any irregularity appearing on the timber that may reduce its strength. Okay, any irregularity. So if you have a piece of wood and there's something on the wood that's not supposed to be there, that usually means that the strength of the wood is being reduced. Okay, and you want to avoid those things. Okay, it may occur in the timber during growth, when you are cutting it down, or when you are seasoning the wood. Defects may be classified as natural or artificial. So if you're cutting down a tree, that would be known as artificial because a human being is actually cutting down the tree. If it's something that has to do with seasoning or ear seasoning, that is a natural occurrence. Okay, if it's something to do with kiln seasoning, that is a man-made occurrence. Okay, or artificial occurrence. All right, you create knots, and here you see an example of a knot. I'm sure you've seen those little circles in wood. Those are called knots, and these come from the branches in the trunk or the branch of the tree itself. Okay. You also have star shakes, and these are splits in the middle of the wood. You have heart shakes, and these don't go as all the way. These don't go all the way around as the star shake. Okay, so the heart shake doesn't go all the way around. You also have the ring or the cup shake, where the middle is actually separated by the circles, so it looks like a U, and it doesn't go all the way around also. And then you have the check. You have checking in the wood, where the outside is actually splitting apart, it's actually separating. Okay, and then you have collapse, where the wood itself, the flat piece of wood, has indents on the grain itself. Okay, so you have various different types of defects in timber. um, you also have bowing, where the wood itself actually begins to, let's say you order a piece of wood from the manufacturing places, and it comes as a straight piece of wood, but over time it begins to bow and change in shape. Okay, so you have bowing, you have cupping, which is right here, you have springing, which is right here, and then you have twisting, which is all over the place. You really don't want to use a twisting board. Okay, all right, so all of these are the different effects that happen in wood. So you need to make sure you choose and you are working with the right type of timber. So the natural defects are those things such as the knots, the bowing, and so on. And as you can see, this is a knot right here. You have a spike knot, you have the quarter cut, and you have the splay knot. A loose knot, the same type of knots that you see right here. However, eventually that knot will get loose, and then you'll just have a hole in the wood itself. So you really don't want to use that wood for anything that is supporting a structure, or else you would have problems. Okay, so those are the natural effects. uh, Artificial defects, these occur in wood from usually man-made occurrences. And as I said, if you cut down a tree, um, you would have artificial defects happening. And sometimes what happens, the tree may fall onto another tree, and then it actually splits the other tree or causes some type of indentation on the tree to happen. Okay. All right. The deterioration, we're going to move on now to the deterioration of timber, and this can happen over time if you don't take care of your timber. Defects may be caused by deterioration or the destruction of the timber. The most common defect of this nature is decay, and it is this decomposition of timber, and it's caused by fungus that feed on the cell walls and the cell content. Okay, so in the previous video we looked at the cell content of wood. I explained to you the difference between hardwoods, which contain the pores, and softwoods, which do not contain any pores but are more denser. Okay, the two main forms of decay are dry rot. The two main forms of decay are dry rot and wet rot. The dry rot fungus usually attacks the timber, and that timber is usually badly ventilated. Okay, so if you have timber that is not ventilated, the fungus will actually build up. If you have water entering that area also, it is a good breeding ground for fungus to enter the wood and just stay there and make the wood deteriorate, penetrate the wood and make it deteriorate. All right. Insect attacks. Some insects are pests that attack and destroy timber, and they cause defects in it, reducing its value. The two groups of insects are beetles, and they infest the timber by laying their eggs in the openings in the timber. So if you have a little piece of opening in your timber, the beetles will enter. Sometimes you don't even see them, and they lay their eggs in there, and the eggs actually hatch into worms before they bore into the timber. And before you know it, you have an infestation in your wood, and the outside might look perfectly good or anything, and then once you lay your hands on the wood itself, it just falls apart or it just falls in. This is the same for termites, and termites attack both sapwoods and truewoods in most timber, and they attack converted timbers unless the timber is treated. So if you go to a construction company or building company, you want to ask for treated wood. If you're working with wood on the outside per se, you want to make sure it's treated, because you have the potential for termites and beetles to enter your property or your building. Okay, and once they enter, there's almost nothing you can do, because they will go throughout the whole house. Okay, and you might not even know it until you see little sawdust lying around your house. Okay, so you want to make sure you treat your wood with insecticides. Okay, all right. There are other pests such as marine borers. These are usually on boats, so it's like the water version or the sea or the marine version of termites, and they live in the sea. So if you have a boat or something, they would actually enter the wood that is on the boat and deteriorate the wood that the boat is made from. So you want to make sure you protect the wood very good, or whatever material the boat is made of, whatever type of wood that you use. You want to make sure it's fully protected and that it's not susceptible to marine borers. Okay, all right. So now that you know all the insects that affect the wood and cause them to deteriorate, you need to preserve your wood. And wood preservation means treating the wood with a solution that makes it poisonous to the insects, to the fungus, to the beetles, and to the termites. This is to prolong the life of the timber, the serviceable life of the timber. And these preservatives, you can divide them up into two different things. You have oil base and water base. Okay, so oil base, you would use on woods that you wanna like really penetrate and last for a long time. And the water base, you're actually just covering up um, the surface of the wood, so that they don't actually enter. Okay, so you have two different ways to do it. The oil base would cost a little bit more than the water base, but the oil base would actually protect it better than the water based preservatives. Okay, um, there are different methods for applying preservatives. I'll just let you go through the different methods. And you have pressure, you can apply it using pressure. You have the hot and cold treatment. You have cold dipping, where you dip the wood itself into cold water with the preservative. Um, and you have brushing and spraying. Okay, when we talk about brushing, you can use paint is also a preservative. You have varnish, you have stains, you have all different types of things that you can brush on to prevent any insects from entering your stock. Okay, all right. So what I want you to do is check your understanding from the previous chapter and this chapter. And here you have you have 8 different points that we went through in the previous 2 chapters. Okay, all right. So following this chapter, you have revision exercises and questions that I want you to complete, and this will be sent to you shortly. So make sure you complete the questions. Okay, all right. Thanks for watching, and chapter 10 will be coming soon, so stay tuned for that. And if you understood everything that was said in the video, click that like button. If you do not understand, leave a comment. If you do understand, also leave a comment. If you have any suggestions, I would like to hear them. Okay, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next one. All right, take care. Bye.